Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Needless to say, I am honored to be here to introduce Somalia's Prime Minister, whom you know, Cabdiweli Sheikh Ahmed, who has assumed the position of Prime Minister in December 2013, and as you also know, has had a distinguished 2 decades before that involvement in development and international economics and trade, having also worked with the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah, the World Bank, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, and the African Union, amongst others. I think that what we would like to do is to ask the Prime Minister if he would speak for approximately 20 minutes. And then what we're going to do is to open the next 40 minutes to questions and answers. Here again, if I can only emphasize, this is quite an audience full of people who really do understand the issues. But I would ask, in this instance, if you could keep your questions very short and precise so that we can have as many questions posed to the Prime Minister as possible. And with that, may I thank you very much and say we all very much look forward to hearing you, Prime Minister, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khan, Chair. I'm very delighted, by the way, that I'm at the Chatham House. I used to hear this name, but for the first time that I'm here. So, I will start answering 3 questions. Where we came from, Somalia, where Somalia is coming from, where we are now at the present time, and where we want to be in the future. So those are the questions that I will be focusing as I speak. And then later on I will be answering your questions. You all know that Somalia has over 2 decades of chaos, destruction, physical destruction of the institutions, of the political institutions and the administrative institutions. And how did that start at the beginning? We had another 2 decades of centralized governance, where everything was top down, and where everything was in the control of few people. Then that led to political exclusiveness, and that translated to the disintegration of the Somali political structures and political system, leading to clanism and sectarian violences. This was happening at a time when probably the world's focus was not on Somalia, it was on Iraq and the Gulf War, and I was there. So Somalia collapsed, physically collapsed, politically collapsed, and then we have this 20 years of chaos, civil war, humanitarian crisis, refugees, displacement of the people, IDBs, and all the other things. Most of you know that through the TV screens, very unappealing pictures of starving people and of fighting and killing of. So this is what happened before 20 years. And that continued until very recently. The political vacuum and the governance vacuum that was there created the environment for extreme ideologies. So we had Islamic extremism in different forms, but of late we have the phenomena of Al-Shabaab. We don't understand much about the origins of Al-Shabaab, but what we know is it's very un-Somali. Somalis never used to suicides and to indiscriminate killings, and the translation of Islam to the Somalis is don't kill. Don't kill. But we have this group of people who are killing indiscriminately, who are going to the mosques and planting bombs in the mosques, who are going to schools and killing innocent children, and who are causing troubles in the region, in the whole Horn of Africa region. So Somalia is emerging from that situation. In 2005, 2006, we started dialogue for the formation of transitional government held by the international actors and the neighboring countries. We formed a transitional government, and we developed the transitional constitution that is operational until now. We have the transitional constitution. So that gives you a picture of where we came from, but where we are now is we have problems, but we also have opportunities to really address those problems. We have people, Somali people, who want to change their lives, who want to build their future, but who are faced with structural challenges and with an enemy that's destabilizing, that's destroying, that's threatening, and that's Al-Shabaab. We have come out from the transitional system. We have a government that's recognized, and we have institutions that are working. We have a federal parliament that will have its session in a few days from now, on the 20th, that's legislating, that's putting together the instruments, the legislative instruments that can make this country move forward. We have also a government, a cabinet consisting of 25 portfolios. And we have a president that's overseeing the function of the state institutions. We have a country that's partially controlled by the extremists. %40 of the landmass is controlled by Al-Shabaab. But we have a determination that we cleaned them out of these areas in 2014, and we have started this operation. We succeeded in liberating more than 13 towns in the south central Somalia during the last few months, with the help of AMISOM and with the support of the international partners. We aim to undertake political initiatives that will promote federalism and political inclusiveness in this country. What we have done so far is we helped the democratic formation of three regional administrations: the Juba, the Southwest, bringing together three regions in Southwest Somalia, Bay, Bakool, and Lower Shabelle, and the Central region that's bringing together two regions. And we have started dialogue for the fourth regional administration that will bring together the Middle Shabelle and Hiran regions. With Puntland already formed, we have 5 regions of the ex-Italian protectorate. We have the Somaliland, and we have the ex-Italian Soomaaliya, which basically is Puntland and southern Somalia. We are working, the government and the parliament are working to provide the legislation frameworks, the legislative frameworks for building federalism and for developing a stable regional states that will be the building blocks of a federal Somalia. And we intend to complete this process in the next 2 years. We are also working review of the constitution, of the transitional constitution, hoping that will culminate to a final version of the constitution that will go for a referendum in 2015. So these processes of the state formation and the review of the constitution, there's also the process of the elections, as we aim to have elections in 2016. Many people can argue that this is too ambitious, but we will be ambitious and we want to make it happen. We are committed to having elections, even if those elections will not be perfect ones. We want to have some elections by 2016. So these are what we package as the Vision 2016. Our Vision 2016, and basically 3 tracks. One is the state formation, is to build the federal blocks The other one is the review of the Constitution. And the third one, the elections. But we all know that political processes will not happen if there's no security in the country. But again, there will be no security if there's no promising political system in the country and people are not seeing a future for their lives. So the two are interconnected. And that's why we have parallel process where we deal with the security and we also drive the political processes forward. We are already seeing the links between the two when we concluded an agreement for the formation of a regional administration in the Southwest. The commanders, the security commanders on the ground are reporting significant improvements in the security because people now see that they can be part of a new administration, and also the vacuum, the governance vacuum that was the fertile land, providing the fertile land for Al-Shabaab is becoming narrower. So the link between rebuilding of the political institutions and the security is very obvious. On security, the first move, the priority move is to clean Al-Shabaab from their strongholds so that they cannot train, they cannot mobilize, they cannot influence young people to join terrorist initiatives. So we have to make sure that they are not there able to do all these things. So that's why we are engaging in the current Indian Ocean operation where we intend to liberate more towns in the south-central Somalia. But it's not only that. Indian Ocean operation is supported by AMISOM. And AMISOM is not a permanent solution for the Somali security. It can also only help us in the interim, but it's not a permanent solution. One day, these troops will go back to their countries, and Somalia has to sustain and support its security. So that's why we are engaging in the rebuilding of the Somali National Army, an army that must be professional, national, and must be behaving well so that it attracts the support of the people. This is why myself and my delegation are visiting London, as we will have a meeting on this tomorrow to discuss on a solid agenda and roadmap for the rebuilding of the Somali National Army. The objective of this initiative is we are able to take the responsibility of the security of Somalia in the next few years. So this involves building the required numbers of the military, training them, equipping them. But this is not a militia, this is not a clan-based units, military units. This is a national, adequately trained, standard military units. Well, we know the politics will support the squeezing of Al-Shabaab, but we also have to disengage to help fighters, Al-Shabaab fighters, disengage from their current activities. We understand there are many of them who are influenced because of the governance vacuum and because of the economic conditions and because of this. But they are loosely connected to the ideology. So if we provide some assistance to these people, we are hoping that they will disengage and defect Al-Shabaab, come back to their communities. We are engaging a program to help that, and we have decided that we provide amnesty to those who want to come back and disengage from this business of terrorism. This is 45 days amnesty available to them, to those who want to disengage. And we are already seeing signs of some of them deciding to come back. So we are hoping this will work and will further decapacitate the Al-Shabaab by allowing many of their foot soldiers to come back and defect them. While we are doing this, we want to have people see a better life. And this is what we call peace dividend. We have to help stabilize and create or provide the services, the critical services in those liberated areas. This is something that the government is working on, but it's something that requires immense financial support. We will be asking the international partners to really help the government get these resources so that people can see a difference in their lives when Al-Shabaab leave. Otherwise, there will always be, so what? Now we have left, Al-Shabaab is no longer there. Life has not changed. We don't want that to happen. We want to really make people see a difference in their lives. But this is something that Somalia alone cannot do. It's something that we need international partners to help us with, because the resources available to us is very limited. Well, as we move on, in the medium-long term, we have to create jobs, because when people cannot get jobs, then there's always someone out there who will tell them, do these problems and they will pay you. And that's how Al-Shabaab developed and spread small incentives to desperate young people who are not getting opportunities to go to schools or who are not getting opportunity to get jobs. So we are engaging in sort of initiatives to help these people get jobs, those who are employed and those who will come back when they defect. But again, this is something that requires resources. And it's a niche for those who want to help Somalia. This is something that we can really invest in and make life go better in Somalia. We will be facing challenges. Whatever you do, there will be always people who will be opposed. So we want our parliament to be very active because they represent the people. As the government is working on the details of these things, doing these things, we want our legislators to help us provide the political context to make people understand what we are doing. But we are also already seeing that people are responding well to what we are doing, and this is very helpful, this is very promising. I don't know if I have spent less or more than the 20 minutes allocated to me, but at this moment I want to stop so that I give plenty of time to those who want to ask questions.
Prime Minister,
thank you very much.
First of all, thank you very much. Prime Minister, I know that there are many here who want to ask questions, but let me just say, I think if you take a look at the post-transitional structures that you've outlined, I really think you have a rich and positive national agenda. And I was particularly interested in the whole issue that you've raised of state formation, this whole constitutional review, as well as forthcoming elections. And as you said, it's ambitious, but it has to be done. So I think on that note, I wondered if we might have some questions, and if funny that I mentioned it, and I just wondered if you can be sure that your questions are very succinct, because there are so many people who want to speak. Do we have microphones there? Or?
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Prime Minister. What is your administration doing to ensure the stability and continuity of the upper echelons in the Security and Intelligence Agency when, from an observer's perspective, all we see is a constant procession of appointments and dismissals?
That makes sense.
My name is Abdul Muhammad, and my question to the Prime Minister is, we know that the financial management in public sector is really key in your government, and also it's a glue that connects all different departments in your government. And my question is that why is it taking so long to have a functional financial management in public sector? My second question, very quickly, is that last time when President Hassan was elected, he said security, 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 which makes 3 pillars of his government priority. My understanding of security, I thought, is the bigger picture, not only to fight against Al-Shabaab. And if we go back and check, the biggest killer in our country for the last 20 years was not bullet, was famine, drought, lack of water. Will your government, Mr. Prime Minister, request the world to get water drilling machines so that we will have enough water and no one will die lack of water next year? Thank you
very much indeed. I think
my name is Engineer Yaro. So just I want to ask Your Excellency, a question very seriously maybe. You talked about briefly what is going on in Somalia, but we Somalis, we know that it is not true, something's wrong. What I say that, do you think that what is going in Jubaland is the real people and the local people, or some small tribes helping by the international community, including you, or as well as in Baidoa and Somaliland? The people are talking. The voice of the people must be listened. So we need a justice. Do you think this shaping is based on what you are talking about here, how to shape the Somalia, or from the worst to the worst?
Thank you very much indeed. Prime Minister, do you have, I think we've given you quite a vast range of questions.
Yes. Well, let me start with Nisa. Well, there will be continuity, and we'll have a new leadership for NISA, and that will be okay. The financial management, we have done a lot of improvement in the financial management. We have what we call the Financial Governance Committee that are working to improve the systems run by the government to manage the finances. We also have the board of directors and president appointed for the central bank. We have the auditor general. We have all these structures needed for a sound financial system in the country. But we also have a long way to go, and we are engaging in this sort of improvements. So as we move on, we will see some improvements. We already have some improvements on the ground. Well, water and this thing, the government's engaging in improving. We have a response committee to the drought now, made of senior ministers. And I think in the next 1 year or so, we will be drilling more than 80 wells. We have a program, and we've got funding for that. We already started providing water to those needy communities, the areas where it's too dry and people cannot get water. So there are interventions already going on in this area. So we have the immediate interventions. We will also have the medium and long-term interventions of preparing and drilling new wells in specified areas. Yes, there are always complaints. There are always inadequacies. Even in Britain, they are still improving the political systems. But we have to start something. Then improvement will come as we move on. So it's better than not starting. So we have a dialogue in Baidoa, and we are trying our best to make this dialogue all-inclusive. And the response that we are getting from the people is it's getting inclusive. We'll continue efforts to make the dialogue inclusive so that a small group are not manipulating and a small group are not at the expense of the other people. So that's our policy.
That sounds very, very good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, to come and visit as a Somali community here in UK. When your government will come out and support for the plight that many Somalians are facing inside, near your parliament, near the what they call the village Somalia, we know the number of Somali refugees are suffering near the government side, and also when Somali government protected by Somali civilians being killed in South Africa and deported from the Kenyans, treating Somalians like animals. I mean, we're very, very concerned about the safety and security of all. And lastly, when Somali government will provide a reconciliation between Somalians, we really sick and tired that we hear international community are providing support by Somalians, but Somalia still are suffering. You know, there are 3.5 million are suffering inside Somalia, and the government is not talking about the deportation, the killing. Nothing has been started since this government has been established. So what can you tell us tonight? What can you advise us? What your government will do? What I have told you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I urge you to please keep your very important, but nevertheless, the questions you ask very precise, because we have a half an hour and we have an awful lot of people who want to ask questions. This gentleman in the first row.
Somali Prime Minister, His Excellency Cabdiweli, Sheikh Axmed, to this prestigious the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House. My question is as follows. My name is Abdulaziz, as I have said, Hildivan, author and commentator of the Somali politics. Please, dear Mr. Prime Minister, will you join me to condemn the brutal killing of the British aid worker killed in Iraq last week? My second question is, prominent Somali politician has been killed in Mogadishu, and those who are responsible has never been brought to the justice. Will you please, before you leave the office, try to bring these people to or hunt them down and face them justice? Finally, Al-Shabaab is using means to tax business in Mogadishu and around Somalia, the system called IVC. So will your government be able to control the Hawala system in Somalia? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the gentleman there in this 1, 2, 3, 4, and the second one in. And if you could keep them quite short, time is ticking away.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Adam Matan, and Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to the UK. And thank you very much for your informative and talk and update on the progress and the plan that you have for your government and for the Somali people. 2 quick questions. One of them is, since you are building the institutions of Somalia, will you consider, or will your government consider, until the 2015, inshallah, or the 2016, will you consider the people that have been appointed for those institutions are appointed based on merit and ability, rather than a clan or a tribe? Can your government assure us that one? And can we hold you accountable for that in 2016? And the second quick question that I wanted to ask, oh my goodness, just went out of my head. So I'll keep it to that one. I'll just keep it to that one.
Can I thank you very much for keeping it so short? There's the lady there, if I might just ask, and then Prime Minister. Yeah.
Mine is very quick. Assalamu alaikum, Prime Minister. I wanted to say, when you are looking at development, a lot of the time people are focusing on security and all these types of things. Where is the judiciary and sort of restructuring the rule of law and everything on your plan, and how you sort of see your projections in your term? The judiciary, the importance, the legal system.
Judiciary, yes, okay.
Prime Minister, that seems to be quite a bit to discuss.
Okay, let me start with the question on IDPs, refugees, killing in South Africa, and Kenya deporting Somalis. Well, I was in Dadaab 3 weeks ago. I visited the biggest refugee camp in Kenya, Somali refugee camp in Kenya. And I understand the situation there and the problems faced by some of those refugees spending in that camp over 24 years. There are people who are in that camp more than 20 years. And there are people who are born there as second generation. The father came, and now the son has a child. So it's the third generation, or the second generation. We have what we call a tripartite agreement that was signed, Fawzia she's the one who signed, as the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, to have a voluntary repatriation or voluntary return of the refugees. Nobody will be forced to go back. And this is what we signed with the government of Kenya and with the UNHCR, and it's a binding agreement. So we are not expecting Kenya to adopt forced deportation with Somali people. And I was in Kenya 3 times for this matter. And we have an understanding, a firm and solid understanding that there will be no forced deportation. But on the other side, we have to help Kenyan government. We have to reduce the burden of Somali refugees on the Kenyan government. And we have to quickly establish the environment that will make these refugees come back. This is what we are undertaking, and a pilot program for this is will be started in Baidawa and in Kismayo and in Lop, the other region, so that people can come back. So this is putting in place the services, the schools, the clinics, the hospitals that the refugees will use when they come back. We have what we call go and see visit, where refugees are allowed to come to Somalia and look at the situation, and if they see the situation is suitable enough for them to come back, then they will decide to come back. So this is already happening. We want the refugees to come back because they will be part of the Somalia, of the new Somalia. We want them to contribute to the rebuilding of the country. You cannot afford to have 1 million refugees or 600,000 refugees sitting idle in refugee camps where they can come back and then contribute to the economy and to the country. So we condemn the killing of innocent people. We condemn this particular one. And we condemn those killed by Al-Shabaab in Somalia, the Somalis killed by Al-Shabaab. So that's our policy. Not only condemn, to fight the terrorists, and that's what we are actively doing now. So Al-Shabaab using Hawala, well, we don't want Al-Shabaab to use Hawala to hurt people. How we technically do that is something that we will think of, but we don't want, in principle, we don't want Al-Shabaab get the influence to mobilize and the finances and all this. So if the Hawala, this IVC is helping them get the finance they use to kill people, then we have to get ways of stopping that. The civil service, the cabinet is reviewing the civil service and law, and that will go to the parliament very soon. And we have a reform program where we want to have appointments and hiring based on merit, competences, and on competition. So this is the policy of the government and the cabinet. And we have a subcommittee that's engaging civil service reform, working as we speak. Judiciary is a big pillar in the reform process of the Somali government. This involves establishing a new judiciary, reviewing the laws and all this so that the laws are up to date, and also setting the functional unities to manage the justice system, which like the Judiciary Services Committee. And the Parliament has passed the legislation on that recently, and we are working to have this legislation implemented. So there's work going on in the reform of the judicial system. And we have that.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We have, if I may just remind you, 15 minutes left until the Prime Minister has to go. So there's a gentleman all the way in the very back row.
Optimistic about elections in less than 20 months. Just wanted to find out how realistic is that agenda on your thing. How are you ensuring to put measures in place, and what sort of procedures do you have in mind to reach that goal?
We're going to take, if you like, the gentleman over there, that's it. Yes, thank you very much.
It's great to have you here, Your Excellency. I've got a few questions, just quick 2 questions. First of all, I would like to know what's your plans, what's your agenda for the 4.5? It's a very, very important issue. How can we make sure they're a bigger part of your, in your agenda? There are other, obviously, abuses happening to the minorities in the refugee camps inside and outside the country. The northern sides, Puntland, Somaliland. How do you want to address these issues? And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Prime Minister, as a former focal point of environmental in Somalia, Somalia facing just a catastrophe in terms of the desertification, and until today, yes, we're using charcoal and wood for cooking and everything, for energy. So what is your immediate plan, just to avoid those things? And how the farmers that has been affected, because the droughts are recurring all the time at the moment. What is the plan of just to have adaptation?
Thank you, Prime Minister, for briefing us. My question is about the relationship between your administration and the regional administrations in the country. It's very brief. It's one question. And it says, what is your plan as Prime Minister in order to build a strong relationship with the regional administration so that Somalia can easily progress to federalism? And thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And I'm going to take 2 more, Prime Minister, if that's okay with you. The lady there wearing a...
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
One standing.
Hi, my name is Nadira Mahmood, a journalist at Al Jazeera. My question is, many bloggers I've known feel restricted in what they can write and report, fear of prosecution or even killed. What is the government doing to protect the safety of the journalists? Thank you.
In order to attract foreign investors, or are we going to keep relying on foreign aid?
Optimism on elections. Yes, I'm optimistic, and that's why I'm working very hard to make this goal real. If we have these federal blocks formed and functional, I think the task of conducting elections will be easier, because there will be another layer of responsibility in the country that will help the federal government organize, manage, and conduct. But we also have the elections law that is being drafted as we speak, and that will go to the parliament. And if the parliament approves that, then that's another milestone. We have the legal framework, the legislative framework, and we have the political structures that we make, and we have the willing of the people, because Somalis want to go to polls and cast their votes there. And that's the solution to the 4.5 problem. If 4.5 is a problem, then if people can go and vote, then they vote for whoever they want. They are not obliged, and they are not forced to serve clan interests or something like that. So the solution to is democracy, and democracy is one person, one vote. And that's what we are aiming at, to have one person, one vote in 2016. Even if we do not have one person, one vote for all the country, if we have in some areas where we see, then that's a move, and we can say that we have achieved the elections. But we can always work to to improve the situation. Environment, the first thing is we need to stop exporting charcoal. We must stop exporting charcoal. And how we do that is to kick out Al-Shabaab, because it's Al-Shabaab who are exporting charcoal from the country. If we gain control of Brawa and control of other places like the central ports, then we can make sure that the government is able to control the export of charcoal. That's one thing. Then after that, it's capacity building and all the other kind of initiatives that we can make to raise the awareness of people to stop burning and cutting trees. Relationship between the federal government and regions, this is something we are actively engaging. I was in Baidawa 2 days ago before I came here. The president was in Kismayo yesterday. And there's closing relationship gap between the federal government and people noted that closing gap in the relationship between the federal institutions and the regional institutions. And as we move on and we support the formation of the other federal blocks, then that relationship will be stronger and will be more robust. Somalia is a federal government. We have that in the constitution, and we have to respect, and we have to make these federal unities functional and participating in the political system of the country. So that's something that we are committed to, and we'll have good relations with the regions. Safety of journalists. Also, my Minister of Information, you can say something about that. Okay, we have a plan to prevent security services messing up in this. We believe in the freedom of speech, freedom of press, and we have to respect that. Well, coming from a long time of civil strife and problems and lack of discipline, you can expect something to happen to a journalist, as you can expect something to happen to the ordinary people. But the policy of the government is the freedom of the press must be respected, and we have passed, the cabinet has recently passed a law that will protect the rights of media and the rights of journalists. And that law will go to the parliament in this coming session. And if we have that law in place, then journalists must feel safer. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, we have probably one set of questions left, Prime Minister. So if I may just say, what I'd like to do is the gentleman in the third row there, second seat, and the third row here, and excuse me, the fifth row here, that gentleman there. And so can you ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Ken. My name is Aul Kurumbe, former non-violence Jubaland State. My question is, what is your clear plan for 2015 in Jubaland? Are we going to see former warlords to run the state or the civil society? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for taking my question. My name is Garad Farah. I am a member of Somali community in UK, active one. And I would like to, my question is the one most of the Somali people have in their heart. And I would probably say the one united most of the Somali people, regardless their differences, clanism, and other things. It is for the Somali, the dispute between the Kenyan and Somali people in the sea. And we're living in a day and age where the world can grab another land in the eyes of the world. For example, Crimea in Ukraine. Is this something to do, something like that for Somali? We never heard before there's a dispute land. There were dispute in land, the NFD, but were there any dispute before? Can you clarify the Somali government position and how to protect us for Somali sea lane?
Thank you very much. Let me please remind you that we're trying to get in as many questions as possible, and brevity would be so important. This gentleman in the 6th row.
Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to ask you one important question, which is the war started the day you have been nominated as Prime Minister. That civil war is still going on. It started from Hiran region up to Juba. And there was a tribal warfare between the government-controlled zone area. As we are aware that most of the Shabab area, where the people, they live together peacefully, why the government cannot solve this war for once for all?
Thank you very much indeed. There's a lady right across from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the UK, Mr. Prime Minister. My question is about Khartoum region, Khartoum people, and the Khartoum government. I quote, you said earlier, you said earlier that you said, I quote, we are working to provide a legislative process needed for the building blocks of federal Somalia. The people of Sol, Senag, and Ain have come together and created a democratic and transparent government in Sol. The political process was watched internationally, but in universal TV. I've never heard you speak about Khartoum, the people of Khartoum, the region of Khartoum, and the government of Khartoum. Could you tell us, please, what the government is doing to support this political process that the people of Khartoum have started and the people of Sol, Senag, and Ain? And do you think it's valid to sit with Somaliland without the inclusion of Khartoum? Thank you.
My name is Hassan. I'm a member of Initiative of Change. My question is, as you have mentioned it earlier, the problem of Somalia, you just mentioned it, Al-Shabaab. And I think there are many other things, including the rape of Somali girls for the AMISOM, and at the same time, the exploitation of the business people. What is the plan for the government to do or to reduce these problems? Thank you very much.
Prime Minister, I think.
Okay, on the Juba, the government plan is to have all-inclusive political structure for Juba, just as we mean that all other political entities or administrations must ensure that there's political inclusiveness in the structure, in the system. And just yesterday, the president was in Soomaaliya opening the reconciliation conference for the Juba, a conference we intend to bring all parties, clans, constituencies, to sit together and discuss and dialogue on their future, and make sure that they have a formation that's including everyone, not excluding any constituency. So this is our plan, and this is what we want to do. Kenya dispute, I'm not aware of any dispute that we have with Kenya. Maybe you will tell me if you know more about that, you will tell me, but I'm not aware of any dispute at the moment. War in Somalia, well, the Shabab's killed. So you cannot say there's peace in the Shabab-controlled area. There are clan conflicts in other places. But the Shabaabs kill indiscriminately, destroy wells, take the properties of people. So that's why people do not want, that's why people hate Al-Shabaab. People hate Al-Shabaab because of what they do to them. So you cannot, well, you can argue, but I don't believe that it's true that people like Shabaab better than us. Khatumo, these are the people in Sanaag, Sol, and Ain. They have equal rights as others. We are not denying their rights. They can engage in a political dialogue. They can engage in a dialogue with Somaliland. They can, so we are not stopping them to do that. Just I have not mentioned that name doesn't mean that they are excluded. I have not named other areas. Maybe I have not named Puntland. So it doesn't mean that they are not part of Somalia. They are part of Somalia. And we respect, as government, we respect the rights of the people to engage in dialogue. What we do not want is armed conflicts. That's what we should not allow to happen, because it's just killing of people, displacement of people, and this is giving space to extremists and to Al-Shabaab. So that's what we should not be seeing. AMISOM, we are concerned with allegations that some AMISOM soldiers did some sexual misconducts. This was a report by the Human Rights Watch, and immediately to respond to that, I appointed this very senior level committee to engage with AMISOM and look into the truth of this. The government has articulated this zero tolerance to any sexual abuses by AMISOM troops. There's a team, AMISOM and government team, working together as we speak, that are investigating into the situation. And if they find misconduct, those who are involved in this misconduct will be punished. And that's an agreement that we have with the AMISOM contributing countries, AMISOM troop contributing countries. So we will not tolerate, we will investigate into that situation, and we will make sure that that will not happen in the future, as we aim to put in place instruments to monitor the conduct of the soldiers, AMISOM soldiers in Somalia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Prime Minister, very sadly, I know that you have a very busy schedule after this, which means that, like you, I too am frustrated that so many people would like to ask you questions, but I think we're going to have to wait for the next time, so to speak. But I think you've left us with an exciting vision of the future. And all I can do is to say that I have a sense through all the questions that there is an inherent support in your vision. So can I thank the Prime Minister for what has been an extraordinary hour, and I believe we all have. Now, I wondered if you could all stay while the Prime Minister and his party then go on to their next appointment. If you can maintain in your seats, and then we'll thank the Prime Minister once again and wish you very safe travels. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. you.